In America, there is a pattern. Someone tells the truth. The FBI shows up. On Monday, Joe Kent, Trump's own counterterrorism chief, a retired Green Beret with 11 combat tours, told the world there was no intelligence showing Iran was a threat. By Wednesday, the FBI was at his door. The investigation had been running for months. Before he resigned, before he went public, before anyone knew his name. Today, we tell you everything Joe Kent said. Everything the White House said back, and let you decide what is actually happening here. Before we get into what Kent said, you need to understand who he is. This is not a political commentator. This is not a pundit. Joe Kent spent 20 years in the United States Army Special Forces. He completed 11 combat deployments to the Middle East and Afghanistan. His wife, Shannon Kent, a decorated Navy cryptologist, was killed in a terrorist bombing in Syria in January 2019. He buried her at Arlington National Cemetery. After the military, Kent joined the CIA as a paramilitary officer. Then Trump appointed him as Chief of Staff to Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Most recently, Trump himself nominated Kent to run the National Counterterrorism Center, the agency that oversees all of America's counterterrorism intelligence. The Senate confirmed him. This is the man Trump just called weak on security. Now, what exactly did Joe Kent say? And where did he say it? On March 17th, Kent posted his resignation letter on X. His first words were direct. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. He then said, the line that broke Washington, "It is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." The next day, Kent sat down with Tucker Carlson for a 1-hour, 40-minute interview. This is where he went deeper. Kent told Carlson there was no intelligence that showed an imminent threat from Iran to the United States. Full stop. He said Iran has followed a religious ruling against developing a nuclear weapon since 2004, and no intelligence showed that ruling was ever lifted. Then Kent dropped the most explosive claim. Key decision-makers were blocked from reaching the president before the war started. Dissenting voices were never allowed into the room. His conclusion: 77 million people voted for Trump because he promised no new wars, no more bleeding in the Middle East. That is what people voted for. On March 20th, just 2 days ago, Kent publicly denied leaking any classified information. His words: the allegations are false. Now, let us give equal time to the White House response, because they hit back hard and fast. Trump told reporters, "I always thought he was weak on security. I didn't know him well, but when I read his statement, I realized it's a good thing he's out." White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Kent's resignation letter was filled with false claims. She said Iran did pose an imminent threat, specifically short-range ballistic missiles. Former Deputy Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich said Kent was often at the center of national security leaks and had spent his time trying to undermine the president. Leavitt also said Kent was not involved in any discussions before or during the Iran war and had not been part of assembling the president's intelligence brief in, quote, a while. DNI Tulsi Gabbard declined to answer in a congressional hearing whether she believed Iran posed an imminent threat. She said that was the president's determination to make. Now, the FBI investigation. This is where the story gets complicated. According to Axios, CBS News, NBC News, Fox News, Bloomberg, and Semafor, all independently confirming the FBI opened a leak investigation into Kent months before he resigned. The investigation is focused on allegations that Kent improperly shared classified information. One source told Axios he was suspected of leaking to Tucker Carlson and another conservative podcaster. Here is the critical detail. The probe began before Kent resigned, meaning the government was investigating him while he was still Trump's spy chief. sitting inside the most classified briefings in America. Tucker Carlson said publicly, Joe Kent was right. Therefore, Joe Kent must be destroyed. Kent said he expected this. His exact words to Tucker, I understand the way I left. And writing the letter, there are parts of this administration that are going to have to come after me. Kent then added, I think the president is someone who listens. I think he knows at a core level this is not going well, and he needs to find a way out. Now, I want to give you the wider context. Because Joe Kent is not the first person this has happened to. The Department of Justice has opened investigations into several perceived critics of the Iran war. But prosecutors have struggled to make charges stick. And here is what makes the Kent case different. Kent is not a Democrat. He is not a never-Trumper. He is a Gold Star spouse, a Green Beret, a man Trump himself appointed and the Senate confirmed. John Mearsheimer said this week, whenever someone stands up and says, do not do this, and it turns out they were right, your first instinct is to crush the person who called it correctly. Kent said the same thing. His exact statement, I understand there are parts of this administration that are going to have to come after me and try to discredit me. Here is what all of this means for every American watching right now. Kent's core claim, no imminent threat from Iran, has never been directly refuted with evidence. The White House said it is false, but they have not shown you the intelligence that proves it. Leavitt said Iran was developing short-range ballistic missiles. Mearsheimer's response, short-range means Iran cannot reach America. Short-range means Iran was defending itself, not threatening the United States. Meanwhile, the war is now 22 days old. The IEA released the largest emergency oil reserves in history. Gas prices are rising, and the Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed. Kent's final warning, the real winner of this war is China, sitting on the sidelines, watching America drain its military resources, watching the Middle East burn. Here is where we leave you today. Watch whether the FBI investigation produces actual charges or quietly disappears. That will tell you everything about whether this was accountability or retaliation. Watch whether any other intelligence officials follow Kent's example. He said he hoped others would speak up. If one more resigns, this story becomes a movement. And watch whether Trump grants Kent a meeting he asked for. Kent said publicly, I think the president is someone who listens. That door is still open. Joe Kent buried his wife at Arlington. He spent 20 years in combat. He had access to every classified file on Iran in existence. And he said, this war did not need to happen. Whether you agree with him or not, that is a statement from a man who paid the highest price this country can ask of anyone. I am your host on Geopolls. New briefing every single day while this war continues. If this gave you clarity, subscribe. See you tomorrow.